Disclaimer: this content is only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. She walked in laughing from a dinner with friends, the kind of laugh that lingers in the air, carefree and full of life. The city lights of Los Angeles still shimmered in her eyes as she closed the apartment door behind her, heels in hand, cheeks still slightly pink from the wine and shared stories. It had been a perfect evening. One of those rare nights where everything just felt light, easy, and warm. She tossed her keys in the bowl by the door, humming softly, and started toward the kitchen, maybe to pour a glass of water, or maybe to just pause before the night ended. But then she saw it. There, on the table. Just sitting there. Quiet. Waiting. A ring. Not in a box. Not wrapped in some cliché velvet. It was just there. Simple. Honest. And yet, completely out of place. Her breath caught, just for a second, like her heart skipped to ask, "What is this? Why now?" Her smile faltered, but only a little. The room didn't feel so still before. The shadows suddenly grew heavier, the silence louder. She took a step closer. The ring gleamed under the low-hanging pendant light, like it knew exactly what it was doing, like it had been waiting for her. No note. No flowers. No romantic setup. Just the ring. Alone. She looked around the apartment, eyes scanning for a clue. Was he here? Hiding? Watching? Was this part of some plan that hadn't played out fully yet? Or had he left it on purpose, not to propose, but to say something else entirely? Moments earlier, she'd been laughing with her friends at a trendy rooftop downtown, telling them about their latest silly argument, the one about whether pineapple belongs on pizza or not. It had felt like such a harmless night. Nothing unusual. No big talks. No signs. But now her reality was shifting with a single object. She stood there, staring at the ring like it held answers she wasn't sure she was ready for. Memories flooded in, their first date, his awkward smile, the way he always made her coffee just a little too sweet because he knew she liked it that way. And then the harder moments, the nights when they couldn't sleep in the same bed, the fights that ended in silence, the doubt she never spoke aloud. Was this ring supposed to fix all that? Or was it a final question? She picked it up, slowly, carefully, as if touching it might trigger something she couldn't undo. It was light in her palm, but heavy in her chest. This wasn't how she imagined it. No music. No kneeling. Just a ring on a table. And just as she turned it over, looking for some inscription, something, anything, the front door clicked. She froze. He was home. The silence stretched again, thicker now. She didn't turn around yet. Just stood there, holding the ring, the last laugh from dinner still echoing somewhere inside her, now tangled with confusion, curiosity, and a feeling she couldn't quite name. What did this mean? Was it love? Regret? A promise? Or a goodbye? Before we go any further, what do you think she should do? Was this the moment she'd always hoped for, just disguised in its most unexpected form? Or was it a silent ending to a story they never finished writing? Drop your thoughts in the comments. What would you do if you came home to find a ring like that? Was he about to propose, or was he walking away? Vote in the poll. Ring it's a proposal. Say yes. Broken heart, he's leaving. Don't pick it up. Face without mouth, not sure. Talk to him first. Stick around, because what happens next will change everything. She didn't turn around at first. The sound of the door closing behind him was soft, too soft for how loud her thoughts were getting. She stayed still, fingers curling lightly around the ring, the metal warming quickly in her palm. Her heart was beating fast, louder now than it had been at dinner. Louder than the music playing faintly from a neighbor's window. Every second stretched longer than it should have. He stepped into the room slowly. No words, just the quiet pressure of his presence settling behind her. She could feel him there, like a shift in gravity. She heard the faint rustle of his jacket as he shrugged it off, the drop of his keys in the bowl by the door, just like she had done moments ago. Mirrored movements, familiar rhythms, but nothing felt the same. "I didn't expect you back this early," he said softly, his voice low, cautious. She still didn't turn. "What is this?" There was a pause. She didn't know if he was choosing his words or trying to guess how much she already knew. "You weren't supposed to see it like that," he finally said. She turned then, slowly, holding the ring up slightly, not accusingly, just needing something to anchor her voice. "Then how was I supposed to see it?" He took a small step forward. "Not too close. I was going to wait. I had something planned. But then I changed my mind." Her eyes narrowed, searching his face for the truth. "Changed your mind? About what? Proposing?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he looked past her to the table, then back at the ring in her hand. "We've been all over the place lately," he said, voice quieter now. "One minute we're laughing, the next we're walking out of restaurants angry. And I thought, maybe we needed space. But then tonight I saw something that reminded me why I love you. It wasn't big. Just this tiny moment. You were laughing in that way you do, like everything else fades out. And it hit me. I still want that. I still want us." Her throat tightened, emotions tangled like wires. She should have felt relieved, maybe even flattered. But something about the timing, the way it all happened, kept pulling her back into doubt. "So you left it on the table?" she asked. "Like a test?" "No," he said quickly. "No test. I was nervous. I didn't know how to say it. I didn't want to make it a big thing and have it blow up in my face. I thought, maybe if you saw it first, you'd know what I was feeling before I said it out loud." She looked at the ring again. It was beautiful, simple. The kind of ring that felt personal, not flashy, but thoughtful. But there was something strange about all this. Something she couldn't quite name. A part of her heart wanted to believe him. Another part was scanning through every argument, every late night spent apart, every quiet dinner where neither of them spoke. "You didn't even leave a note," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. "I know. I messed it up. I'm not great at this kind of thing." "This is kind of a big thing," she replied. He nodded, stepping closer. "I know. And I should have done it differently. But I didn't want to lose the moment." She stared at him, feeling like they were standing at the edge of something, but she wasn't sure if it was the beginning of a new chapter or the last page of the old one. The ring was still in her hand, still unanswered. And then, almost without meaning to, she asked, "Did you do this because you want to marry me, or because you're afraid of losing me?" His expression changed. Not dramatically, just a small shift in his eyes. Like she'd struck something he wasn't ready to admit. He opened his mouth to answer, but before he could speak, her phone buzzed on the counter behind her. She turned halfway, glanced at it. A name. A name he noticed too. And suddenly, everything felt different. The air changed. He looked at her, really looked, and something passed between them. Not jealousy, not anger, but a realization. "You didn't tell me you were still talking to him," he said, not accusingly, but quietly. "I wasn't hiding it," she replied, voice sharp but controlled. "But you didn't mention it either." Another silence, one that held more weight than the last. She set the ring down gently on the table, like it was fragile. Like something inside it might break if she didn't handle it carefully. Neither of them said anything for a long time. The ring stayed between them. So now what? The ring sat between them on the table like a question neither of them knew how to answer. Her phone screen had gone dark again, but the name still echoed in the space between their breaths. He shifted his weight, arms crossed now, like he needed to keep himself from saying something too honest, too loud. She hadn't moved. Not toward him, not away. Just frozen in that heavy pause, her fingers resting lightly on the edge of the table. He finally spoke. "You didn't answer the question." She glanced at him. Not angry, not defensive, just tired in a way that crept into her voice. "Because I'm not sure yet." He nodded, slowly. "And him?" "It's not what you think," she said quickly. "Then what is it?" She hesitated, and that alone said more than her words could. "I ran into him a couple weeks ago," she said. "It was random. Coffee shop near work. He asked how I've been. We talked for like 5 minutes. And then he asked, quiet but sharp. And then we kept texting. Nothing crazy. Just familiar. Comfortable." There it was. That word again. Comfortable. It hit harder than he expected. Not because she said it, but because deep down, he knew they hadn't been that in a while. Their relationship had started with fire, with midnight drives and inside jokes and deep conversations about everything and nothing. But lately, it felt like they were holding on more than growing. "I didn't tell you because I knew how it would sound," she added, softer now. "But I didn't hide it to hurt you." He looked down at the ring again. "Did seeing him make you question us?" Her silence was the only answer he got. He let out a breath, long and slow. "I wish I could say that didn't hurt. But it does." She stepped back a little, unsure of where to stand now in more ways than one. "I'm not saying I don't love you. I do. I have. But I don't want to say yes just because it's what we're supposed to do next." His voice was barely audible. "So, what do you want?" She looked at him for a long time, really looked not at the version of him she'd memorized over the past 3 years, but at the person standing in front of her now. There was still love in his eyes, but it was mixed with doubt, with fear, and maybe with a little guilt. "What do you want?" she asked him in return. Because leaving a ring on a table doesn't feel like someone who's sure of what they want either. That hit something. His jaw tightened slightly. "There's something else, isn't there?" she asked, almost a whisper. He blinked. "What are you talking about?" She stepped forward now. "You were acting weird last week. Distracted. You kept checking your phone when you thought I wasn't looking." His face changed, just a little, but enough to confirm what she already suspected. "Are we both lying to each other?" she asked, pain creeping in. He looked away. It was just one message. Someone from before. She reached out. "I didn't answer after that." "But you didn't tell me," she said. "I thought it didn't matter." "But it does," she said. "Everything matters now." The silence that followed was heavier than the rest. It wasn't angry, just full of unspoken things. Questions neither of them had the energy to ask. Memories too fresh, too fragile to bring up. And then, without warning, thunder rolled outside. A summer storm, sudden and quiet at first, then louder as rain began to tap against the windows. The sound filled the room like a movie score, building tension even as neither of them moved. The ring still sat there. Still shining. Still waiting. "I don't think either of us is ready for this," she said, eyes on the ring. He didn't argue. He didn't try to explain. Maybe because he knew she was right. Maybe because he was afraid of what would happen if he did. But he also didn't leave. And neither did she. Somewhere in the other room, her phone buzzed again. Neither of them reached for it. So many questions now. So many cracks under the surface they hadn't talked about. Love didn't always end with shouting. Sometimes it unraveled in quiet moments like this, where no one knew what to say next. But the question still hung in the air. Was this the end of something, or the moment they started telling the truth? Let us know in the comments who's really in the wrong here. Speech balloon, is she emotionally cheating, or is he keeping secrets too? Speech balloon, should they take time apart, or is this a wake-up call to fight for their relationship? Speech balloon, and what would you do if you were in her place? Stay tuned, because the next twist is closer than you think. The storm outside had grown louder now. Rain streaked down the windows in steady waves, and every rumble of thunder felt like it belonged in the room with them. The kind of storm that makes everything feel heavier, like time is pausing just long enough to make people face what they've been avoiding. Neither of them moved. The ring still sat between them, untouched, like a choice waiting to be made. She finally broke the silence, her voice low but clear. I keep thinking about how different this night could have been. He looked at her. Me too. You could have proposed at dinner, she said. You could have waited until tomorrow. Or said something, anything, instead of just leaving it on the table like a dare. He nodded, guilt flickering across his face. I know. I just thought if you saw it without the pressure, maybe you'd feel something before I said anything. But you were afraid I'd say no, she added. He didn't answer. That silence told her everything. She took a slow breath. And now I don't even know if this ring is about love or fear. He stepped toward her, cautiously. You think I don't love you? I think you love the version of us that existed a long time ago, she said. I think you want that version back. But I don't know if we're those people anymore. He looked at the ring. Then why haven't you walked away yet? That stopped her. She didn't have a clean answer. Maybe it was the history, the moments they still shared that were too good to forget. Or maybe it was the way he looked at her now, like he didn't know how to let go either. Another buzz from her phone. They both glanced toward it this time, but neither reached for it. Still, the silence that followed was colder now. Tighter. Are you still in love with him? He asked. She swallowed hard. I don't know. The truth. Raw, uncomfortable, and sharp. But the only thing that made sense. I think I'm in love with who I thought he was, she added. Just like you're in love with who you thought I was. He didn't react. His jaw tightened, and he stepped away, toward the window. The rain outside blurred the city lights. Everything looked soft, out of focus. Just like the future she used to imagine with him. You know what the worst part is? He said quietly. I bought that ring a year ago. Her head snapped up. What? I had it for months. I kept waiting for the perfect moment. But every time I thought about asking you, something would go wrong. A fight. A misunderstanding. Or I'd just feel like you weren't really with me. She stared at him, shocked. A year? Why didn't you say anything? I thought maybe I could fix things first, he said. That if I waited for us to be better again, I'd get the version of you who would say yes without hesitating. She stepped toward him now, eyes searching his face. And you thought tonight was that moment? He shrugged. You came home smiling. You were happy. I saw a glimpse of what we used to be. And I got scared it wouldn't last. She looked down at the ring again, the way it caught the light like it was still trying to be beautiful, still trying to matter. Do you want me to say yes just so you don't lose me? She asked. I want you to say yes because you still believe in us, he replied. But I don't know if I do, she whispered. He flinched slightly but nodded. Then maybe we need to stop pretending everything's fine. They stood there, the storm outside crashing harder now, wind rattling the windows like even the sky was on edge. Every second felt like it was dragging them toward a moment they couldn't avoid. One choice, one sentence, and everything would change. But neither of them spoke. In the distance, the phone buzzed again. This time, she reached for it. Slowly, he watched her. The screen lit up. Her eyes flicked to it. And whatever she saw, it made her freeze. Not out of shock, but recognition. Something familiar. Something unresolved. He took a step forward. What is it? She turned the screen so he could see, but didn't say a word. And that's where we'll leave it for now. Her fingers tightened slightly around the phone, the screen still lit between them like a spotlight on a truth too heavy to say out loud. He leaned in just enough to see, and when his eyes caught the name and the preview of the message, his expression changed. It wasn't anger. It was confusion. Then something darker. Something more complicated than jealousy. The message read, "You didn't tell him the truth, did you?" He looked at her. What does that mean? She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. She couldn't speak. Not yet. Not without unraveling everything. You told me you ran into him at a coffee shop, he said slowly, piecing it together. That it was random. That it was just texting. She looked down. It was, at first. At first, he repeated, almost to himself. She swallowed hard. I didn't mean for it to happen. Things with us were already shaky. I felt like I was holding my breath all the time, trying to not say the wrong thing, trying to be enough. And when he came back, it felt like someone was finally seeing me again. Not who I was supposed to be, just me. He blinked, hurt surfacing now, more visible than before. Did you see him again? There it was. The question that would change everything. She hesitated, but she couldn't lie anymore. Yes, she whispered. Once. We met for lunch. And you didn't think I deserved to know that before you walked in here and smiled like everything was fine? She stepped toward him. I was going to tell you. I was trying to find the right moment. That message doesn't sound like someone you're done with, he said. She stared at the phone in her hand. I don't know what I'm doing. That's the truth. A pause. A breath. He ran a hand through his hair, eyes darting around the room like he needed a way out, or maybe a way back. You told me you were unsure about us because you needed space. But you were already somewhere else in your mind. With him. No, she said firmly. I was confused, yes. But I never stopped loving you. Then why does it feel like I've already lost you? He asked. The question hung there, raw and exposed. She didn't answer. Maybe she couldn't. And then another buzz. But not from her phone. This time it came from his. They both froze. He reached into his pocket slowly, eyes never leaving hers. One glance at the screen, and his face went pale. She noticed. Who is it? He hesitated. Who is it? She repeated. He showed her. It was a name she didn't recognize. But the message? It said everything. You can't ignore this forever. We need to talk. I didn't know she was still in the picture. A beat of silence. Her breath caught. Is this some kind of sick game we're playing now? It's not what you think, he said quickly. You sound exactly like I did an hour ago, she snapped, heart racing. I didn't cheat on you, he said. She was someone I knew before you. We reconnected for a few weeks when we were struggling. You mean when we were drifting apart and you didn't want to admit it? He didn't answer. He didn't have to. She took a step back, stunned. All this time, we were both lying to each other. He nodded slowly, but we were still trying to hold on. For what? She asked. For love? Or just because we were scared of starting over? He looked at her, really looked. I don't know anymore. And just like that, the room felt smaller. The air thicker. The kind of silence that makes you feel like everything is about to fall apart or finally break open. They were standing in a relationship full of secrets, both of them guilty, both of them broken in different ways. The ring still sat on the table, but it felt more like a question now than a promise. Outside, the storm had begun to fade. The rain slowed to a soft rhythm, almost peaceful. But inside, the real storm was still spinning. "I don't want to hurt you," she said quietly. "You already did," he replied. She nodded. "Then maybe this is the part where we stop pretending we're okay." But neither of them moved. Because there was still something there, pain, yes. But also the memory of what used to be love. The comfort of knowing someone so deeply, even when it hurts. The silence between them was longer this time, but it wasn't the awkward kind. It was the heavy, final kind, the kind that comes when everything has been said, but nothing has really been answered. She stood frozen, the glow from her phone dimming as the screen went black, like even the technology knew it was time to stop revealing things. Across the room, he looked down at the ring again, then back up at her. His eyes were tired now. Not from the storm or the conversation, but from holding on for so long. "I think we broke something we can't put back together," he said, his voice almost a whisper. She nodded slowly. "I know. But the question is, do we still want to?" Neither of them had an answer to that yet. And maybe that's why what happened next caught them both completely off guard. The apartment door creaked open. Not violently, not loud. Just enough to make them both turn at once. A figure stepped inside. Wet hair. A dark coat. Breathless. It was him. The man from the messages. She gasped. "What are you doing here?" He looked directly at her. "You didn't answer." "I had to know if you told him." Her boyfriend stepped forward, eyes blazing. "You had to know? You think you can just walk in here like this isn't real life?" The tension cracked instantly into something more dangerous. She moved between them, her heart thudding in her chest. "This is not the time," she said to the other man. He ignored her. "You said you wanted clarity. So here I am. Tell him the truth." Her boyfriend looked at her now, eyes scanning her face like he was seeing someone he didn't recognize. "What truth?" he asked. She closed her eyes for a second. Everything was spinning now. Fast. "I was going to end things with both of you," she said, her voice shaking. "I needed time. I needed space. And then you left the ring and everything spiraled." "You were going to walk away from both of us?" the man in the coat asked, stunned. She turned to him. "Yes, because I realized I was using both of you to avoid being alone. I was terrified of what it meant to be by myself." Her boyfriend took a step back. "So none of it was real?" "It was," she said quickly. "But it got twisted. Somewhere along the way, I started confusing comfort with love." They were all quiet now. Even the city outside seemed to pause. The ring on the table glinted under the ceiling light, still waiting for a decision that no longer made sense. "I'm not proud of any of it," she said. "But I won't lie anymore." Her boyfriend looked at her, really looked. Then, without another word, he picked up the ring. He walked over, gently took her hand, and pressed the ring into her palm, not as a proposal, but as a parting gift. "I loved you more than you'll ever know," he said softly. "But love without truth is just a story we tell ourselves." He turned and walked out, the door closing behind him with finality. She stood still, stunned. The other man stepped toward her. "I didn't come here to cause drama," he said. "I came here because I thought maybe we still had a chance." She looked at him. "We don't. Not anymore." And just like that, it was quiet again. Alone now, she sat on the edge of the couch, the ring in her hand. Not crying. Not angry. Just quiet. A soft ding broke the silence. One new message. From a name she didn't recognize. It simply read, "You don't know me, but we need to talk." About him. She stared at the screen, confused. The message had no context, no detail, but something about it chilled her more than the storm ever did. She glanced at the door, half expecting someone else to walk in. No one did. She looked at the message again. The story wasn't over. She stared at the message on her phone, trying to make sense of it. Her heart was still racing from everything that had just unraveled, the truth, the heartbreak, the unexpected visit, and now this strange new text. It felt like the universe wasn't done testing her. But this time, instead of reacting with panic, she simply breathed. Slowly, deeply, for the first time in what felt like weeks. She didn't reply to the message. Not right away. Maybe she would. Maybe she wouldn't. But right now, she wasn't going to let someone else's urgency shake her again. She put the phone down, placed the ring on the coffee table, and leaned back into the quiet of her apartment. The same apartment that used to feel like a shared space now felt unfamiliar, yet strangely peaceful. In the days that followed, there were no dramatic chases, no long apologies, no grand gestures. Just space. Space to feel everything fully, to sit with it, to stop pretending. She spent time alone, walking, reading, crying, remembering. She even replied to the mystery message, eventually. It turned out to be nothing that changed anything, someone from her past, connected to the other man, trying to stir something that no longer mattered. She let it go. He didn't come back, and she didn't expect him to. The other man didn't text again. And she didn't check their social media. For once, she wasn't reaching out to anyone for validation. She was learning how to reach in. One afternoon, weeks later, she walked into the same little cafe where she had first run into the other man. The barista recognized her and smiled. "Haven't seen you in a while," he said. "Yeah," she replied, smiling gently. "I've been figuring some things out." She ordered her coffee and took it outside, sitting under the soft spring sun. For the first time in a long time, there was no need to scroll through old messages or wonder what could have been. There was just the present, and it was enough. People walked by, some laughing, some silent, some in pairs and some alone. She watched them all with a quiet appreciation, knowing that everyone carried stories they weren't telling out loud. Just like her. But the difference now was, she wasn't afraid of her own anymore. Not every love story ends with a ring. Some end with lessons. Some end with the kind of growth that makes space for something better later. And some don't end at all, they just shift into something softer, something wiser.